Senator Bill Cassidy. Hey, Dr. Bill, welcome back to KEEL. How are you this morning?
Hey, Robert, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Listen, I got in touch with you guys last night. Thank you so much for making time for us. Aaron and I are already kind of arguing this morning about statements made by Virginia Governor Northam about what I take to be the bill that they've introduced in Virginia would allow for doctors, for mothers to allow is it going too far to say the murder of already born children? Aaron says that couldn't happen in the United States.
This says up until the moment before birth.
Dr. Bill, what did you take from Governor Northam's statement?
The way he describes that the child is born alive, and then after the child is born alive, okay, they tried to kill it as it was coming through the birth canal, because it could be the moment before birth, that they would put the child to the side and then decide what to do with it. And if the family decided not to resuscitate, they would allow the child to die. That means the child is being born alive. Now, they're trying to make the immediate time after delivery, when normally a mom and a father are exultant, part of the in utero, in the womb continuum, and it is not. And when we begin to break down that sort of... Now, by the way, I think it's terrible that they would abort a child at 39 and a half weeks.
Yeah. When
clearly the child could be born and live. But then to have that continuum is also just awful.
Dr. Bill, is there really a doctor in our country who would do this?
Of course. Look up the Netflix or the YouTube on Gosnell out of Philadelphia.
Gosnell, Dr. Gosnell.
There is a move on the left to declare that the right to life movement has been very effective at using science to show that when the child is in the womb, sucking his thumb or sucking her thumb, that she actually is a person. And she has an intellect, or not an intellect, but she has kind of the ability to respond to stimulus, and parents bond with it. The pro-choice movement of Planned Parenthood is trying to diffuse that. They have billboards showing a fetus saying it's a choice because they understand they're losing the argument based on science. And so now they're pushing back with, oh, it's not a baby, it's a choice, and trying to dehumanize the child.
But Dr. Bill, if you shoot that woman as she's walking into the hospital to give birth, you're charged with murdering her and murdering the baby, right?
Yes, except that in New York, I'm told, I haven't read the legislation, but I'm told that they're trying to soften the penalty for the death of a child in utero. Now, if you're just going to be intellectually consistent, you should probably soften the amount of man required to pay in terms of child support for a woman whom he has impregnated. Because it's no longer a person, it's just you see where I'm going with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Bill, you've got the bill being introduced in Virginia. You've got the law that was just signed by New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. You've got other bills in other states. I think Rhode Island is one, Vermont is one. What is causing this radical lurch to the left by what's the upside of all this for Democrats who are proposing these outlandish bills?
So the people that ran and got elected because some voters were very upset about Donald Trump, and they wanted to have a protest vote. And they elected people who were far radical than previously elected those districts. And they did it to protest Donald Trump. Now, but the people they elected are far radical than the folks who previously represented those districts. And as opposed to the moderates, as some presenting themselves to be, they're pretty radical and are beholden to groups like Planned Parenthood, and will do their best to kind of answer Planned Parenthood's agenda.
Now, as a physician yourself, when you see the statement made by Governor Northam yesterday, who, by the way, is a pediatric neurologist.
Doesn't it make you want to throw up?
Yeah,
bluntly speaking.
Well, first do no harm is supposed to be the first rule of medicine, and clearly, Governor Northam didn't get that memo.
Senator, I'm almost speechless, and you know that's hard. Switching gears a little bit, the U.S. Supreme Court right now is looking at whether or not they should block Louisiana's new abortion law. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. Essentially, this would force all but one clinic in the state to close. Are you optimistic this court will keep this abortion law?
You know, I'm not an attorney, and I can't claim to know how they're going to rule. Brett Kavanaugh specifically said during the hearing that he was guided by precedent. And that's code, if you will, for I'm not going to overturn Roe v. Wade, which is not to say that he wouldn't allow states to regulate. So I think it's there's going to be a line there in which these justices seek to allow states to have some protection of the fetus, but at the same time stay within precedent. Although some, I'm sure, and I'm sure Kavanaugh is pro-life, I think they're very cognizant that society, let's be honest. Society has decided that abortion in some means is something that society wants to accept. Now, we may think differently about it, I certainly do, but nonetheless, society has decided that. And so we can either fuss about that or we can begin to change culture. And I think that's where a lot of energy needs to be placed. How do we do what the pro-life movement has done? Use science to convey to people that that child in utero is actually a child, using the ultrasound and other devices. So the movement's been very successful. We obviously have to keep at it.
Senator Bill Cassidy, have fun at the D.C. Mardi Gras. Stay warm.
Hey, I will. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Dr. Bill, very much.